Coming up this hour, we'll dive into the top stories of the day, including Attorney General Pam Bondi defending the arrest of a Wisconsin judge. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. We'll also talk with Sugar Land Mayor Joe Zimmerman, who joins us to celebrate his city ranking number 3 on the best cities to live in list, and more.
And I'm Frank Billingsley. Plus, St. Arnold Brewery's Lenny Ambrose and No Label Brewery's Randy Rodriguez discuss their entries in this week's World Beer Cup competition, as well as Houston's thriving brewery scene.
And as Ernie, Frank, and I discuss the top headlines of the day, we want your thoughts, questions, and concerns. Give us a call at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump is marking his 100th day in office. He will hold the first rally of his term tonight. Trump's expected to highlight his record when he rallies with supporters in Warren, Michigan, but NPR's Danielle Kurtzleben reports Trump's approval rating is sliding.
The president will speak at Macomb Community College just north of Detroit. While Trump tends to use these speeches to claim policy victories, this one comes as Americans are increasingly doubting him. A new poll from NPR PBS News Marist finds Trump's approval rating at 42%. Polls have shown his approval steadily slipping since he took office. Trump won Michigan along with every other battleground state and is attempting to boost manufacturers like Detroit's auto companies with tariffs. However, Trump's tariffs on goods from the world over, including a 145% tariff on Chinese goods, have rattled markets and raised recession fears. Danielle Kurtzleben, NPR News.
Amazon says it has no plans to display import charges on certain products. Company spokesman Tim Doyle issued a statement after the White House protested over a media report that Jeff Bezos' company had been planning to list how tariffs hike prices on the e-retail site. Doyle says a team that runs the Amazon Hall store considered the idea of listing the import charges on some products, but that was never approved. Bezos was among the tech moguls who donated to President Trump's inauguration fund and attended the swearing-in. Amazon is a financial supporter of NPR. Canadian voters have decided that Liberal Party leader Mark Carney should stay on the job. Katie Toth reports Carney and his party have vowed to oppose President Trump.
As Prime Minister Carney thanked voters, he warned them to prepare for the worst.
America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never.
This past December, the Liberal Party was imploding. Under Pierre Poilievre, conservatives made huge gains, but not enough to run the government.
While we will do our constitutional duty of holding government to account and proposing better alternatives, we will always put Canada first.
The New Democrats, a social democrat party, suffered major losses, causing leader Jagmeet Singh to push back tears as he resigned. For NPR News, I'm Katie Toth.
The Vatican confirmed today that 2 of the 135 cardinal electors eligible to participate in a conclave to select a successor to the late Pope Francis will not participate because of health reasons. Now, this brings the number of cardinal electors down to 133. The Vatican's preparing to hold the conclave beginning May 7th. Pope Francis died Easter Monday at the age of 88. From Washington, this is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Gabrielle Dawkins. A gathering of civil rights leaders demanded the rejection of a bill banning people from certain nations from owning land in Texas. News 88.7's Tom Perumian has the latest.
Asian Texans for Justice hosted the event where speaker after speaker from immigrant advocates' rights organizations condemned the passage of Senate Bill 17 and called on House lawmakers to vote it down. ATJ co-director Nabila Mansour set the tone for the event.
SB 17 will strip away the rights of thousands of Texas residents, people who are here legally, simply because of their country of origin. It'll expose them to racial profiling, housing discrimination, and even the terrible possibility of having their property seized.
The bill is aimed at keeping entities from countries identified as a risk by the National Security Agency from purchasing lands in the United States. Exceptions are for U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents of the U.S. I'm Tom Perumian, News 88.7.
Houston Controller Chris Holland says bills targeting how investments are made will make city business more expensive. The Texas legislature has passed or is considering a range of laws intended to crack down on supposedly ideological investment decisions, from climate change to social justice. Holland says the laws constrict which banks the city can work with, raising the interest rates on bonds.
And a lack of competition in this space, which is ultimately a result of less competitors in the market because of these silly laws, that's going to drive up the cost of debt service, which drives up the amount of our general fund that is spent on debt service and reduces the amount that we can spend on these critical services like public safety, infrastructure, parks, public health, libraries, and so on.
State Republicans have celebrated the laws, arguing they force ideological decisions out of investment markets. It's currently 79 degrees on the UH campus, partly cloudy with a high near 84. I'm Gabrielle Dawkins, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance with Snapshot, which monitors safe driving habits to determine a personalized rate at Progressive.com. Not available in California or from all agents. This is NPR.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, Tuesday.
Hello, Tuesday.
And here we are. You know, if you watch us on the YouTube channel, you can catch up on all the behind-the-scenes things that happen here, like 30 seconds before we go on air, I'm not even in the studio.
Where were you? You want to explain that?
You know, nature
Don't
calls.
ask.
We're going to be on for 2 hours, Frank. I got to take care of things.
We're
Anyway,
at that age.
yeah. Welcome to Hello Houston. We've got a lot to cover today. But while we're doing all that, if you want to join us and watch us on YouTube, you can simply go to youtube.com and take a look over at the Houston Public Media channel. There we are in all our glory, sharing with you our show. Also, you can join in the chat there. A lot of people join in there, comments, conversation, questions, and we're monitoring that too. Remember, always hit that like, subscribe, and ring that bell. That way you'll know when we have new material out there. You can also find us going to our website, hellohouston.org, and click
the big
orange banner.
A button or a banner? It is a banner.
They love it.
It's more of a banner than a button.
It is. Yeah.
And you can call us, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. That's all the business I have to get rid of.
I love the YouTube comments.
Oh, we got
those are my favorite, and we get so many.
We're not getting that many emails. We need to get those emails up.
Yeah, our emails.
We do get a lot of YouTube comments because we look so cute on YouTube. Hey, Wednesday's weather,
yes.
You know, is a pretty good chance of rain, but it doesn't look like now so much, 30%, and mostly north. But where you do see rain, you can see some strong storms, so watch out.
Yeah.
So be careful.
Coming up on today's show, I know we have, because he's already been in the studio, we're very excited to have him. The mayor of Sugar Land is here because they've got something really awesome to celebrate. We're going to be celebrating it with them right here on the show. But first, we start off every show with the topics of the day, and Celeste leads us off.
Yes, so some news out of Houston. The city fire department recently terminated 12 cadets just before their graduation for racist and hateful behavior. This is according to Houston Fire Chief Thomas Munoz. The cadets were dismissed April 18th after an investigation performed by both the Houston Fire Department's Professional Standards Division and the city's Office of Inspector General. The 12 cadets were found to have been sharing racist memes on a group chat, even after being warned. Munoz said the cadets were ultimately terminated for failing to follow the fire department's code of conduct. It is estimated the cost for training and equipment for the 12 cadets cost the city over $1.2 million with no return on investment. Only 27 cadets graduated instead of 39 in this class. What are your thoughts on the firings? Did it need to happen right away, or was it premature? Should they have been dismissed? or allowed to graduate. Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
Keep in mind, even though you graduate doesn't necessarily mean you have to work for the City of Houston Fire Department. You just have that graduation, just like anything. You graduate, you can go on to where you go. So had they let them graduate but said, you know what, you can graduate, but you're not going to work for us, go find a job somewhere else, and maybe that was one way to do it. I looked everywhere I could to find out exactly what was going on, but I guess it doesn't matter. It was considered to be racist, and so they consider it racist.
I think it's great that the fire department is keeping people accountable. The fact that they were warned, they were given additional sensitivity training, yet the bad behavior continued, I think that's unacceptable. And yes, unfortunately, it did cost the city, a substantial amount of money.
$100,000 per cadet.
Per cadet.
Wow.
And they went through the training course, but once you are warned, you're told that behavior will continue. And it also sets an example.
Yeah, I think it's great to know that there is oversight and that people are paying attention to this. And you think about the cost right now of what it cost, but imagine had cadets come in that maybe did not uphold the values of the department or the city of Houston, or that's then where it could have cost even more long term.
I would like to know more. I would like to know, was the warning, if this continues, you are not going to graduate? Or was it, don't do that anymore? I would like to know, did they really go to HR? Did they start an investigation?
There was a full investigation. They had additional sensitivity training. I believe that they were told and multiple times, and it continued.
And what were they thinking?
We want to hear from you. Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
Yeah, one last thought. I mean, this sort of moving away from DEI in this country, is that loosening a grasp on this kind of
behavior.
I mean,
very much so. But I definitely feel like whether you say you are implementing DEI or not, the fire department, regardless of it, said we are not going to let you graduate and allow this to happen.
Agreed. And at a very expensive cost, they said, we're done here.
Yeah.
So good for them.
I'll throw in my last thought on the whole DEI thing, and that being, even though there seems to have been a step away from it, the last few years put it into focus again and reminded everyone. And so even if there aren't rules and regulations, I think we all think differently now.
100%.
And I think that's wonderful. I think that we're aware and we're exposed to things we may have been in our silos and not even noticed. And now people are much more open, like, yeah, that isn't right. That isn't proper.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that comes from culture.
Yeah.
And
that's why I don't
that
get
is
this.
that culture shift.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to something else that's going to, I think, ruffle a lot of feathers, and our phone lines are open. I'm going to give you the number as I start before I read the story. 713-440-8870. Attorney General Pam Bondi defended the arrest of a Wisconsin judge, saying that it was absurd for the judge to allegedly help an illegal immigrant evade authorities. So what's the story? Well, Judge Dugan, a Milwaukee County Circuit judge, is accused of confronting federal authorities outside her courtroom and helping the illegal migrant, who was a defendant in her courtroom, escape out the back door. Duggan is facing 2 charges of obstruction and concealing the individual from arrest, and she has not yet entered a formal plea. We should keep that in mind. The Attorney General also pushed back against criticism that the federal immigration agents should not have planned to execute the arrest inside court. For years, court staff across the country have said that doing so discourages people, as Frank said yesterday, from showing up for their scheduled hearings. Lot to unpack in this story, but what are your thoughts? Did the judge do the right or wrong thing in this case? Did the Attorney General do the right or wrong thing in this case? Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
So this is really, obviously, Ernie, you mentioned it. Frank, we've all talked about this is complicated.
Mm-hmm.
But my initial thoughts are the judge probably should not have done that. Because when we're looking at this just purely from a law and order standpoint, it was obstruction of justice. The judge was helping someone avoid arrest, regardless if it was in a very overt way or a quiet way of letting somebody slip out. That is again, obstruction of justice.
Even though I've seen reports on this, heard stories, read up on this, I still don't feel like I truly understand each moment and nuance of what happened. And being in that position, I feel uncomfortable commenting on it because I don't know what's still to come in this story. But initially, my reaction is we should not be arresting people in courts or laying in wait at a courtroom to nab somebody, because as you were saying yesterday, Frank, it will deter, and what we said in the story, it deters people from going to court if you think more is waiting for you.
More and more, I think people that are illegal are being deterred from going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it's like if you are out there in the public and they know about you and they've said, we will find you, and they are finding them. But let's focus on courts.
Exactly. And this is the thing. If we're looking at this, the question is, do you think, again, did the judge do the right or wrong thing in this case?
And what would you have done?
That's hard. I was thinking that exact same thing. Last night I kept thinking to myself, what would I have done?
And what did you come to?
I'm not sure. I say that I think in the moment, I'm a rule follower for the most part. And I think that if I was in the judge's position, I would have just stayed out of it and then followed up to see how you can help and maybe get other people involved. But personally, as somebody, I don't think she should.
You bring up a really interesting point there. And I think it's the bigger story of all of this is you saying, you would have not done anything and then seen what happened and what you could do to help. And I think the problem we're facing right now is that this due process seems to be disappearing. So you can't think this person may be detained by whomever, and then there'll be a process so you can interfere. They may be whisked away. That due process piece seems to be missing in all of this, and that's, I think, what's fearful and what would make people like the judge act. And when in the past we would have said, okay, if you get nabbed, we'll then have a court date, we'll have time to talk and address this. But we don't see that happening.
But do you think it's disappearing? Or do you think that we are looking at the interpretation of law differently?
Do we even know if this judge judged this guy? Or did she? I mean, did she actually?
Regardless.
I don't know that that's important or not, but at some point she heard he was going to be arrested outside the courtroom and said, "Hey, sneak out the side door, and it's not my problem." She goes out and says, "Sorry, guys."
I heard a report where there seemed to imply she had more involvement with this person beforehand.
Not that it matters, but the person we're talking about was Eduardo Flores Ruiz, and he was charged in Milwaukee County Circuit Court with 3 counts of battery, domestic abuse, and infliction of physical pain or injury. Flores Ruiz was accused of playing music too loudly in the home. The complaint alleges Flores Ruiz punched another person 30 times, then struck a woman who tried to break up the melee. So, again, he also was there, and he was illegally in this country. That is breaking the law.
Unpacked on this case. What do you think? Give us a call, 713-440-8870. A moment ago, we were talking about the firefighters, and we've got some calls coming in. First, Matthew from Pearland is on the line. Oh, no, Matthew on Pearland is here for the judges. Matthew, give us a judge comment.
Yes, my comment about the judge was that this doesn't really seem to be as much about whether the judge followed the law or not, but really as to the administration, the executive branch, trying to show their power over the judicial branch.
That's a good point.
Kind of what it seems to me.
Yeah,
Excellent
very good point. Do you think the judge should have been arrested for the behaviors as we know them now?
I don't think the judge should have been perp walked the way that she was.
Mm-hmm. Should the judge have even been in this position? Seems to be your point. Stay out of the courthouse. If you want to arrest somebody, do it on the street.
That sounds much better, yes.
Matthew, thank you for your comments, and keep listening. We're going to go now back over to the firefighter story we were talking about a minute ago at 713-440-8870. Debbie is on the line from also Pearland. Debbie, what are you thinking?
Good morning. Thank you. I really support the decision that the city made and the fire department made.
Mm-hmm.
It is an excellent decision. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Sure can.
Okay. They gave these people a warning that they needed to change their behavior, and to give them a full certification would not have been fair to other people who have completed the system and done it with grace and with maturity.
Yeah.
Racism needs to go away. We do not need to use laws to make it go away. We need to use common sense. I love what the city did. Keep it up.
You know, Debbie, one thing I don't understand, of 12 people that were in on this, how did not one of them say, okay, I'm changing my behavior, I'm getting out of this? How did all 12 of them continue down this road? I don't get it.
Yeah. It's an interesting point.
Easy.
Yeah?
That's easy because I've been a teacher for a long time, and there's something called pack mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
and pack mentality operates with riots, with college kids, with all levels. You've got to be careful of who you're associating with and make a conscious decision to say no. And if you cannot, this was my advice to my children when I raised them. You decide which one of you is strongest and just put the relationship on ice until things straighten out.
Debbie, thank you very much for that call. It's something also that you mentioned earlier, Celeste, too, is that I think it was you, that it stands as an example to the rest of them now, too. So cadets realize this is serious. This is important. And even in that groupthink mentality, there is this example that, you know what, and maybe next time, Frank, they'll be like, this happened to that other group. I don't want to be in it. Okay, quickly, we're going to go to Carmela from River Oaks. Carmela, what's on your mind?
Well, I, too, agree with the decision and the choice of the City of Houston and especially HFD. I had the privilege of working with HFD in the emergency room chaplains at Bentop County Hospital, and it is humbling. It is humbling to watch these first responders just put everything and everyone above themselves. I mean, they put themselves at risk for the love and compassion of others. Truly humbling. And so for this group to be called out and said, this isn't acceptable, and let us show you why. Here's sensitivity training. And for them to have no regard for authority, being first responders is not where they need to be. Yeah. Being a first responder, you have to have respect for authority. There is a protocol in place. So I think it is, this is all-encompassing. I think they did a great job. Yes, I'm a taxpayer. I pay taxes here in River Oaks. We just lost $100,000 a pop, and these people, it was worth it. Don't let them graduate. Because if you let them graduate and they try to go somewhere else, do they have regard for their fellow man in the Dallas area or San Antonio area? And it's not just with race. It is all-encompassing. So thank you so much for discussing this, and I appreciate it.
Carmela, thank you. Thank you very much for your thoughts on that. Before we run out of time here, we're going to go over back to the judge story. And our number here, 713-440-8870. Randall is on the line from Round Top. What's on your mind, Randall?
Well, I think that the issue that was raised earlier about due process, in immigration, your due process has already occurred when you've already been found that you committed assault. Therefore, the due process has already been received in your immigration case. And so that has already been satisfied. The Lindsay case, Lindsay versus Memphis Electric, Gas, and Water, is already determined by the United States Supreme Court that due process does not require a judicial hearing. Due process simply means an opportunity to present your case. And so that person has had the opportunity to have due process, and they found that they committed the assault, and so that they do not have a legal right to be in this case. I don't have a problem at all with having them arrested in the courthouse at all, because that is the safest place for the public. There's lots of law enforcement there, and so it's the safest place for the public to have the person arrested rather than being on the street.
Randall, really quickly, Randall, should the judge have been arrested, do you think?
No, because the judge can be simply issued a summons to appear in federal court.
Mm-hmm. Well, and back to our point earlier, if this is happening in the courthouse, while you're absolutely right, Randall, it is the safest place for this to happen, but then people that are supposed to go to the courthouse won't show up if this continues. That's the problem.
Randall, thank you very much for calling and sharing your thoughts with us. Remember, we're interested in all of your thoughts on all of today's stories and what is yet to come. It's always, you're invited to be part of the conversation. 713-440-8870.
Coming up on Hello Houston, best city to live in, according to a new ranking, is Sugar Land. Woo-hoo! Mayor Joe Zimmerman will discuss what makes Sugar Land so sweet. And we're also taking your calls on any of today's topics at 713-440-8870. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7.
I'm Matt Hara, morning anchor here at Houston Public Media. If I have doubts about something factually, I'm waiting to put that on the air. We pride ourselves on being right, again, not first. So if I see we're not buttoned up on something, specifically when it comes to breaking news in the morning, we're not going to air it until we have all our facts correct. I'd say the other big golden rule is to always make sure we're staying local, because we are Houston Public Media here, and I believe Houstonians want to hear about Houston. And so I'm always thinking Houston first.
I've heard stories of agents who, in listing photos, are putting 3 cookies on the kitchen table as a sign to a buyer's agent. If you bring a buyer, you'll get 3%, which means they'll get their 3% also.
I'm Michael Barbaro. That's Today on the Daily from the New York Times.
You can hear the dailies coming up tonight at 7 on News 88.7.
Support comes from AEG and Hans Zimmer, presenting The World of Hans Zimmer, A New Dimension. A full live orchestra performs scores synchronized with film sequences. September 9th at Toyota Center. More at hanszimmer.com.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Lockton, dedicated to helping navigate the complexities of employee benefits and evaluate costs of prescription drugs and pharmacy benefits. More on the News and Insights page at Lockton.com.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Certa Pro Painters, offering residential and commercial painting services, from color consultations to full project management. Estimates and more at CertaPro.com.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from the Holdsworth Center's Champions of Hope series, featuring 6 Texas education leaders who are uplifting their communities and leading with heart. More about their stories at holdsworthcenter.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To share your thoughts on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Livability, a website that explores life in small to medium-sized cities, put out their annual 100 Best Places to Live list last week, and the city of Sugar Land ranked 3rd on this year's list. Woo! Livability took into account several factors, including affordability, job economy, education, transportation, and healthcare. And here to give us his take on the ranking is Sugar Land Mayor Joe Zimmerman. He's been the mayor of Sugar Land since 2016. Mayor Zimmerman, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you all very much.
Congratulations.
We're very excited about this.
I'd like to request an audit. I think we should be number 1. I think they just miscounted.
So is that your goal for next time?
That's my goal. Is we need to get another audit going, and they need to resurvey people. They just had the wrong segment.
To come in 3rd is pretty impressive, because I understand there were 100 different areas they looked at, 100 data points to get you way up here to number 3. What's your answer to all of those that fell below you? Why you guys raised so high?
You know, I think when you look at the city of Sugar Land, we've got so many things to do, quality of life. We've got world champion Space Cowboys, Constellation Field. We've got smart financial, international concert venue. We have comedians coming out there. We've got Cullinan Park for those people that like active, passive kind of parks. We've got Sugar Land softball fields for the girls, Sugar Land baseball fields for the boys. We just have so much for them to do. We've got a burgeoning healthcare business. We just got MD Anderson just announced 470,000 square feet. That's in addition to Houston Sugar Land Methodist, Memorial Hermann, and St. Luke's. So there's just, I think we have a little bit of everything for our population.
And that is all fabulous as a great brochure. I'm going to go back to my question. What do you tell cities that are below you how to get to the point you folks are at? We hear so many stories about so many cities suffering today, and you guys are thriving.
We do every fall. We do a council retreat, and that council retreat informs our city manager and our staff. We look out 5 to 10 years. What do we want to be? And of course, the marketplace changes constantly, but you have to have a vision, and that vision has to incorporate both the thoughts of your residents and your elected officials. And I think we do a good job of doing both those.
And it feels like there's a lot of movement heading your way. And you guys have been on the trend of one of the fastest growing areas for a very long time. How have you managed such a large influx of people? I understand, like you said, you're expanding your healthcare, but really, how do you manage when you have a lot of people moving to your area?
It's really deliberate. So you have to plan for that. You have to plan for that years in advance. We're a zone city. So we have certain areas that are residential, we have commercial, we have industrial, we have all those activities, and then you have employment areas. We've got 96,000 jobs, not just healthcare. We've got Schlumberger, we've got Hope Biosciences with Donna Chang, stem cell research. We've got all these things that are there that provide an infrastructure for the people that want to come to Sugar Land.
And I have to congratulate Sugar Land. Really has done a great job when getting retention ponds going. There's still the dam at the Brazos River that can be a little on edge. I know residents there always sort of hold their breath when there are flood issues, especially when the Brazos starts to go up. But you've done a pretty good job with flooding there.
Yes, sir. You go back in 2019, we had a bond issue after Harvey, and that was to make sure we had 238 residents that got water in their house. Everybody has a right to be in a house that doesn't flood. The council and our residents passed that. That was $47 million for drainage. This $350 million we just did includes additional drainage. So when you look at, that's back to that planning. You have to be deliberate in those things that you're going to address. There's never enough money to go around.
Well, your roads are nice and smooth down there, I'll say that. No, that's a big deal. I mean, I remember Sylvester Turner's first run at mayor was about potholes.
Yes.
That was his whole campaign. Mm-hmm. That's not a big problem in Sugar Land.
So we do a survey every year, and they drive every street and road in Sugar Land, and it gets a grade,
really,
a performance index. And that performance index informs our capital improvement plan so that we know where to take those dollars and push them into that year. So it's every year that we have that survey, pavement condition survey, then that informs our capital plan.
Do you think that the size of your city impacts what you're able to achieve? And I ask that question because you're right next to Houston, much bigger city. Could they operate similarly to the way you're doing it, or is it because of the size you're able to do what you do?
I think we're able to do what we're able to do because councils before us, and we've got a great council right now, but councils before us had the same focus that we do. I think what you see, and I've talked to Mayor Whitmire about this, you've had years of budget problems at the city of Houston that's caused them to underspend. And that underspending, you take it forward, it's not just the administration before him or the one before that. It's been an underinvestment for a long period of time, and now he's going to play catch up. Mm-hmm. And there's not enough money to go around with all the things that he has going on with the firefighters and then the budget gap. So if you ever get behind, I think it's very hard to catch up, and that's what we're spending a lot of time to make sure we don't get behind.
So you've been the Mayor Zimmerman, since 2016. How have your challenges changed throughout that time to today? What type of challenges have you been through in Sugar Land?
So when I came in 2016, we had, and I'll call it what it was, we had underinvested in police and fire. Our police in 2019, we did a partial funding of a new police and fire training facility. We just finished that up with our bond election last year. But we made a pivot, and we pivoted to catching up our investment in police and fire. And so we had that training facility. We also had a huge initiative in terms of parks, and we were very good with partnering with people. Fort Bend County doesn't get enough credit. Fort Bend County's been a great partner with us, and they've shared some of those costs. We did a parks referendum in 2013, and they actually picked up some of those costs, which allowed us to redeploy those dollars in other areas.
We're talking this. Let me jump on the end of this question because it fits with what Celeste just asked, is the amount of time you've been in. I'm thinking that's a benefit to a direction for a city, because had you been in a 2-year term, a 4-year term, and somebody else, the consistency of doing it for the number of years you have, I would think allows you to get initiatives moving forward and can help build a city the direction it's gone. Is that a right assumption, would you say?
Absolutely. There were 5 main points when I first got elected, and those 5 main points are the 5 main points we've done for the entire 9 years. Now, we've turned over the entire city council, so the people I served with when I came in 2016 is a different group than what we have now, and we're going to turn it over again. We've got an election, 5 of 7 seats that are up, so we'll have a new council come in. But it's absolutely a benefit to have that consistency and that more or less that evolving vision.
Okay, sorry, cut you
Well,
off.
to that point, we have term limits for mayor and city council here in Houston. Are there term limits for you?
Yes, there are. So when I first came in, we were 4 2-year terms were the limits. And then we changed the charter. And the charter now is 3 3-year terms. So I got what I'd call a bonus year. When I originally came in, it was going to be 8 years. I've gotten 9, so it's been great.
Wow.
Nice.
So what is next for Sugar Land? I mean, you mentioned, again, the healthcare. You guys are bustling. You're all moving forward. You're number 3 on the list.
What are you going to do
to
get
to number 1? What can people expect?
Well, the legislature helped us out a session ago, and it was Senate Bill 2038. We were landlocked. We only had 4% of our land to be developed. Senate Bill 2038 allowed developers, owners of land, to opt out of a city and to opt into one. So we had a developer, Pulte came to us in 2023, Rye Hill's the development, it's 1,000 acres, and it will eventually come into Sugar Land. What that did for us was it unlocked tens of thousands of acres to the south of us that could at some point in time, if the landowners decide, to come into the city. And that allows us to continue to pursue growth and to continue to add services to what we already have.
We welcome you to join the conversation at 713-440-8870. We are with Mayor of Sugar Land, Joe Zimmerman.
So I often hear that people, especially pro athletes, prefer to live in Fort Bend County because the tax structure is less than Harris County. Is that true?
Yes.
Simple answer.
So tell me what's for sale down there that I can relook at. So by how much? I mean, what's the significance there?
So the county's around, Fort Bend County is around 47, Sugar Land's 35 and some change. Fort Bend ISD, I don't recall what theirs is, but when you get to Harris County, they just had a pretty large tax increase, plus they did something on the flood side to increase taxes. And then you look at the city of Houston, and if you look at those tax structures, they're not the same.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going back to this list. You're number 3. How is Sugar Land going to celebrate?
Well, I think we leave that up to the restaurants, or the residents.
Right.
The restaurants will celebrate too, I think. But I don't think we get ahead of ourselves. I mean, we've got a strategy. We pursue it. We certainly like the accolades with something like this, but we won't celebrate very long. We'll be back to doing business.
Well, I see number 1 is Flower Mound, Texas. I'm sure that's not lost on you.
That's absolutely is not lost. I mean, that's why I want to recount. And I know some of the mayors up there, so I sit with they call it the Big City Mayors Conference Call, and we do it once a month. We have a conference call, and right now it's Maddie Parker.
I see the bottom of the list is Augusta, Georgia, which is a lovely place. So I mean, all in all, out of 100 cities, we have pretty good places to live in this country.
Yeah, I'm not feeling too bad if we're behind Augusta, Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, with the Masters and everything out there.
Now, Mayor Zimmerman, I do have to ask you, last year there was some controversy around limiting public speaking during city council. Now that that was about almost a year ago, what do you want residents to understand during that time that you think was maybe misunderstood?
So we've always had on the agenda that you could only speak on an active item. And for a while when we had the people that wanted to speak come to council, we relaxed that policy. And then what we saw was the original thought was, let's give them a chance to speak, and then possibly that would go away. Well, that didn't happen. So we went back merely to enforcing the policy that we'd always had from the time going back administrations long before I came in as mayor.
With the current, I guess, atmosphere that we're seeing out there when it comes to politics and such, how in Sugar Land are you handling partisan issues, nonpartisan issues, coming together as a community instead of seeing differences? What do you do in your role as mayor to try and build a more cohesive community? And I ask that question for others to be able to take lessons from it too.
Right. So Sugar Land's nonpartisan. We don't have R's and D's. And we work with all the elected officials. We've got R's and D's out in the county. We work with both sides. We've got R's and D's in the state legislature that represent us. We work with that. We've got R's and D's at the federal, and we work with both those. And so we don't get caught up in the politics.
In the politics of politics.
and we stay focused on what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Can we get federal dollars for our airport runway? Can we get state funding for a gondola, some kind of transportation? We can't continue to pave the world, so we're very focused on the fact that we've got to find a way in mobility and transportation to move people.
Let's get back to gondola. Is this a scoop we're getting here on Hello Houston? Have I not heard about this gondola?
So we've had a preliminary engineering study that's going on to see if, back to my point, you can't continue to widen Highway 6 and widen roads and pave concrete. Is there another way, Frank, to move people? And so we're doing a preliminary engineering report to see if, in fact, gondolas can move people from, let's say, from Sugar Land Town Center to Smart Financial or Constellation Field.
That's awesome. By the way, my 15th annual Frank Billingsley Golf Classic this year is going to be at Sweetwater Country Club.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for bringing it out there.
No, thank you for the hospitality to allowing us to come your way. We're excited.
Joe Zimmerman is the mayor of Sugar Land. Mayor Zimmerman, thank you so much for joining Frank, Ernie, and I.
Thank y'all very much.
Congratulations again.
Number 3.
Coming up, we'll talk with reps from St. Arnold Brewery and No Label Brewery about this year's World Beer Cup competition. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
Market forces often have really human costs.
You know, the HR lady kept asking me, she says, are you going to be out here for a long time? I said, until you fire me, yeah. And then 2 months later, it's like, here it is.
I'm Kai Rizdal, one worker story, next time on Marketplace.
You can listen to Marketplace coming up tonight, 6:30 on News 88.7.
Support Houston Public Media by donating a vehicle you no longer need. We'll take it in any condition. It's free to you, easy to do, and it could mean hundreds of dollars in support. Visit HoustonPublicMedia.org/cars to learn more. Thanks.
Houston Public Media is licensed to the University of Houston System, governed by the UH Board of Regents. Information about open meetings, dates, times, and locations is online at uhsystem.edu. Support comes from Theater Under the Stars, presenting In the Heights, the first Broadway musical from Lin-Manuel Miranda, creator of Hamilton. Runs May 20th through June 1st at the Hobby Center. Tickets at tuts.org.
Support comes from Baylor College of Medicine, creating tomorrow's medicine today. Known for their medical research and innovation, Baylor College of Medicine is a proud sponsor of Houston Matters with Craig Cohen, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. on News 88.7.
Support comes from Texas Mutual Insurance Company, committed to strengthening the state's workforce and its communities through safety and wellness grants and education initiatives. More at texasmutual.com/community impact. Support comes from the Houston Zoo, presenting its annual Feast with the Beasts. Cuisine from a number of Houston's diverse eateries, animal experiences, live music, and more. May 2nd. More at houstonzoo.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To share your thoughts on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
We're back.
Yes, we are.
Hello, Houston.
Hello.
It's starting to look like a party in here.
You know what? I have friends that are going to be so jealous of this next segment. So let me lead off. The World Beer Cup is the most prestigious beer competition in the world, also known as the Olympics of Beer. This global competition recognizes brewing excellence in more than 100 categories, with over 200 highly qualified beer professionals serving as judges. That's a lot. 6 Houston area breweries took home medals in last year's competition, including the St. Arnold Brewing Company and the No Label Brewing Company. Congratulations on that already. The award ceremony for this year's 2025 World Beer Cup is Thursday, May 1 in Indianapolis, Indiana. Now here to tell us more about their participation in this year's competition, Brock Wagner, founder and brewer of St. Arnold Brewing Company, and Randy Rodriguez, general manager of No Label Brewing Company. Gentlemen, you must be pumped. Or is that right? That's what you get for a keg, right? A pump?
Yeah. I see what you did there.
I'm sorry.
So, Brock, you are a brewer. Right?
Yes.
So you actually brew it. So the basic recipe for wine really doesn't change much, and it depends a lot on the quality of the grapes. But that's not the case with beer. So is beer more complicated when you're looking at brewing beer?
Yes, beer is much more sophisticated and interesting than wines.
Interesting.
Thank you
word, sophisticated. Yes.
So you can brew any beer style, any place in the world, because we can get the malt, all the different types of malted barley, malted wheat, if you want to use that, other adjuncts, as well as the hops. They travel very well. We understand so much more about the science behind it. Like, we take our Houston water and we run it all through reverse osmosis, strip it down to zero, and then we actually have a water recipe for every one of our beers, because water does make up about 95% of the beer and is critical.
Different for each beer, or the same one?
Yeah, yeah. So it's different because there's different. You want different hardness, different. You want to either bring out and accentuate the malt, the hops. You want a softness on certain beers like pills. So all of this is very important.
But what about for home brewers? Can they achieve that water magic or not? Or are they just stuck with the water they got?
It's a little harder for home brewers, but they can if they want. You can get distilled water and then add your own minerals. Do not brew with just pure distilled water, because you actually need minerals in the water.
And yeast. So what's your secret there?
Our secret is we're a little bit smaller scale than St. Arnold is, so we don't have all the equipment that they do to refine the water, but we do have. We work with the best that we can with different filtration systems just to get it to the right levels that we need it for our different styles, whether it's an IPA, whether it's an amber, a dark amber, or will be heavy. And so there are different solutions, and we are, like Brock mentioned, the minerals are definitely important in the process. So.
And No Label is actually out in Katy.
Yes.
Yes. So, and St. Arnold's is here in Houston.
Right by downtown.
Yeah.
So in the early 90s, a while back, I did a story for Channel 13 when I worked there.
Ooh, many years
at
back.
the Budweiser Brewery. Is it still there?
It's still there.
Okay, so they taught me all about malt and hops and yeast and everything, but they also taught me about temperature, because people talk about give me a cold beer, I need a cold one. But it really matters, from what I've learned, the temperature of the right temperature for the right beer matters, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
True?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you bring out different qualities in the beer depending on the style that you're drinking. If you're drinking something like a stout or something heavier, the warmer it gets, the more qualities you're going to pick up from that beer. And there's other beers that are easier to drink, like lagers and stuff like that you like them nice and chilled. But
so you're talking about a lager, a stout, an IPA. What is a different taste between all of those? Because I know sometimes, I'm not a big beer drinker, but sometimes my husband will, open an IPA and I'll try it and I'll be like, ooh, no, that's very perfumey.
How much time do we have?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting to us. Like, we often get people who come to the brewery and say, I don't like beer. And sometimes that means, you try to give them something very light to try and they like. You'd be amazed the number of times somebody comes and says, I don't like beer. And then we'll give them an IPA that's not very bitter, but very fruit forward because of the way the hops were added. And they love that beer.
I do like a light blonde. You like?
Everybody likes a light blonde.
My husband is blonde, by the way.
I was in Vegas one time, and I'm watching like a commercial on the TV, and they said it was all about, well, you don't like beer, but do you like wine? Because if you like Chardonnay, you'll like this kind of beer. If you like Cabernet Sauvignon, you'll like this kind of beer. If you like Pinot Grigio, and they were comparing, if you're a wine drinker, what kind of beer you should actually go for. Have you heard about this idea? Because it's sort of really good marketing to wine drinkers.
It is. And I would say, we brew a beer for everyone. And we have a range of flavors. We have a shandy if you want something that's, a little fruitier. We have a range of IPAs. We have, fancy lawnmower beer and summer pills if you like something light. But we absolutely, our servers, if you come in and come to the beer garden and you tell them, I like this kind of wine, I like this kind of food, they will suggest something that more than likely you will enjoy.
They can relate to kind of help them understand or find their way through our menus, I think is one of the best tools. And I think we both have great staff that try to do that and incorporate it. And at the same time, they educate the guest also.
Okay, enough background. Let's get to the World Beer Cup. So what's going on there? What's your involvement and where are we at?
So the World Beer Cup it used to be an every other year competition. It's the most prestigious competition, we believe, in the world. Breweries from around the world compete. It occurs every year now. The judging just wrapped up yesterday afternoon. I'm actually a judge, and it's very interesting. The judging at this competition, the judges are from around the world. Americans are in the minority. I would say that, American beer 40 years ago was the laughingstock of the world. Craft breweries came out of that, and American craft breweries led a craft beer revolution around the world. And so now you see what we started occurring in countries everywhere. So it's this huge competition. We sit down. I don't get to judge beers that we entered, by the way. So, and everything's blind. So you sit at a table. There will be 6 judges. We'll get about 12 cups of beer. They'll have a 5-digit number on them. And we all write down our notes. We taste them independently. Then we discuss. We eliminate the ones we don't like, and we pass forward the 3 favorite ones. And there's several rounds.
Would you know yours if it was in there?
That's a funny question. You think that you would, but you would probably be wrong.
We're talking with Brock Wagner of St. Arnold Brewing Company and Randy Rodriguez with No Label Brewing Company, and you can join the conversation at 713-440-8870.
So, guys, Brock, what did y'all enter in the competition this year?
Definitely our Cali Boy is something that we try to enter every year. We actually won a few years ago with that.
What made it win? What's the secret?
We have a gifted brewer.
So you don't want to say the secret recipe.
Well, we can't share the recipe, but I think at the end of the day, it's the passion and the love and what you put into, their hearts went into brewing this beer. Our whole collective idea on behind it is what kind of helped get us there, and it was a huge, huge success for us.
And how many beers can you enter?
I think we entered the max. I think was it 10 this year?
I think it was 8 or 10.
8 or 10.
Enough.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite that you entered, Brock?
Fancy Lawnmower beer has done well historically. Our original beer, Amber Ale, actually does well in these competitions. We always enter Pumpkinator.
Pumpkinator.
Which, it's funny. It has won a lot of medals, but then if you ever have it in front of a panel where all the judges are German, even though it's entered into the pumpkin and spiced pumpkin category, the Germans are like, what is this? This is not beer.
Oh, my God. I would love to see all the categories that you guys have. We have our phone number, 713-440-8870, for your pressing beer questions. And Gary's got one from Waller. Gary, what's on your mind?
Hello, I'm a beer connoisseur. I've been drinking it for 60 years, and I just was wondering, I've never found out, what's the difference between beer, Pilsner and all the other types, and stout? Is it the ingredient or the brewing?
Well, I think we're about to get that answer for you, Gary. Who wants to take it?
Well,
all right, Brock, you're on.
So when you brew, I think when you're referring to a beer, you're probably referring to kind of a light lager. So that is going to be brewed typically with light malted barley, and from the big breweries, they'd probably put some rice or corn in it. Stout is going to have some roasted barley mixed in with light barley, and a little bit of roast barley and black barley goes a long way towards making a stout very dark. And stouts, by the way, aren't necessarily heavy, even if they're very dark. They can be.
Have the tariffs, all that talk about tariffs, any impact on what you're doing?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Would you share?
How is that impacting?
So aluminum prices for our cans, that went up actually at the first hint of discussion of tariffs, even before the tariffs were implemented. Malted barley, we're very concerned because most of our malted barley comes from Canada. That's where the barley is grown. And that fortunately was exempted, but malt and hops that we get from Europe, there will be tariffs on that. I mean, we are constantly juggling what we're doing right now, and it changes day to day, so that keeps us on our toes.
Let me jump in on a tariff question there, too, because it's often misunderstood. So what happens when the price of those goes up?
We pay it.
We pay the price.
Us, the consumer,
Yes.
are we going to be paying more for it, too? You're not just going to absorb it, because that's not good business.
Yeah, I mean, we all have to figure out a way, the right formula where it's not completely all on the customer, but, I mean, at the end of the day, there has to be some kind of balance where it makes sense on our end and it makes sense for the guests that come out to support us.
And so it affects then the small businessman, even larger businessman, and also the consumer both get hit with this, right?
Absolutely, yes.
We have a call from Michael from Westgate. Michael, what's your question for Brock or Randy?
Well, I'd like to preface it by, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
We sure can.
Okay. I wanted to preface it by saying I'm a real-life German. I was born in Germany, and I'm a German citizen. And I just want to point out that, throughout Europe, there's a lot of different styles of beer and countries that do one thing one way or another. And as a matter of fact, I think the Belgians are the largest per capita consumers of beer. And, they've got those lambics that are made with fruit. And, of course, in fact, I think Belgium itself produces 338 brands of beer. And it's a rather small country, yeah. My question, though, for my listeners, because I'm a big admirer and liker of Pilsners, and yet there doesn't seem to be many American Pilsner beers. In the old days, it was Pabst Blue Ribbon. That was the one.
Michael, I'm going to have to cut you right here because we have to hit the top of the hour, but we want to get an answer for you from our guests.
Yeah.
So,
what's with the Pilsners in this country?
Well, we brew a pill called H-Town Pills, and we also have Helles Summer Pills, which is really more of a Munich-style Helles. I believe y'all do
Randy,
some
what do
lager.
you have?
We don't have a Pilsner, but we focus on rice lagers and styles like that, blondes. But I mean, you don't see Pilsners
Good luck. We got to go.
Okay, thank you guys.
I hope you win.
I really appreciate you guys having us.
Brock Wagner, founder of St. Arnold Brewing Company. Randy Rodriguez is the general manager of No Label Brewing Company. Good luck, and thank you for joining us on Hello Houston. The award ceremony for this year's 2025 World Beer Cup is Thursday, May 1st in Indiana. Coming up on Hello Houston, we'll talk with Meg Booth, President and CEO of Performing Arts Houston, about their 2025-26 season. And we're going to learn more about Houston Saengerbund, the oldest musical organization right here in Houston. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
You're listening to News 88.7 KUHF Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, we continue diving into the top stories of the day, such as a bill moving through the Texas legislature that would ban some foreign countries like China and Russia from owning land in the state. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. Performing Arts Houston has announced their 2024-25 season. President and CEO Meg Booth will join us to tell us all about the very exciting announcement.
And I'm Ernie Manous. The president of the Houston Saengerbund, Rodney Thorin, joins us to discuss the oldest musical organization operating in the city of Houston.
Also, we want to know your thoughts. So give us a call at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. Just go to hellohouston.org and click the big orange banner.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Amazon denies it intended to list import charges for customers shopping its website after the White House slammed the e-retail giant. The company issued a statement after White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt responded to a report Amazon planned to display tariff pricing. She said such an action would be viewed as hostile and political. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is among the tech billionaires to pursue closer ties with the administration since the president returned to office. Amazon is a financial supporter of NPR. Negotiations between the U.S. and trading partners are pushing ahead. Talks intended to avoid some of the steep tariffs President Trump announced and then paused earlier this month. NPR's Tamara Keith reports Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is putting a positive spin on the economic uncertainty.
In a briefing, Bessent said Trump creates, quote, strategic uncertainty, but he insisted there is a process in place to navigate the president's trade war.
We have 18 important trading relationships. We'll put China to the side, 17. They are in motion.
Bessent didn't elaborate on the full list of countries, but expressed optimism.
I could see some announcements on India. I could see the contours of a deal with the Republic of Korea coming together. And then we've had substantial talks with the Japanese.
Bessent said China is under financial pressure to reduce tariffs on the United States. Tamara Keith, NPR News, the White House.
It has been a rocky 100 days for the stock market since President Trump took office. Here's NPR's Scott Horsley.
One of the goals of President Trump's trade war is to close the nation's trade deficit. But new figures from the Commerce Department show the deficit widened in March as U.S. businesses and consumers raced to get ahead of the president's tariffs. Exports and imports both rose during the month, but imports jumped a lot more. Coca-Cola sales dropped 2% during the most recent quarter, but the soft drink giant says profits were up. Coke says the effects of tariffs on its business are likely to be manageable. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
Israeli and Hamas officials have held talks with Egyptian officials about reaching a ceasefire in Gaza. Here's NPR's Daniel Estrin.
Hamas says it met over the weekend with Egyptian officials in Cairo to discuss a ceasefire, a hostage prisoner exchange, and urgently needed aid to Gaza. Israeli media report a senior Israeli delegation met Egyptian officials in Cairo Monday. An Israeli official not authorized to speak publicly tells NPR Israel has rejected Hamas's offer for a 5-year truce. In a press conference, recently freed American-Israeli hostage Keith Siegel called on President Trump to help free Hamas's remaining hostages.
I urge the president to continue his commitment, apply pressure, restart negotiations immediately, and secure a deal.
Daniel Estrin, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
It's NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Gabrielle Dawkins. The federal program known as Head Start may be soon dismantled by the Trump administration. As News 88.7's Colleen de Guzman reports, experts say that will put the most disadvantaged kids in Texas further behind on their education and health.
If we pull funding from Head Start, we are not trimming the fat, but we are cutting into the bone of our future.
That was Kim Coffrin's main message during nonprofit Children at Risk's latest press conference on the program's potential demise. Harris County serves 1,300 children through Head Start, providing educational services on top of hearing, oral, and nutrition screenings. Dr. Deborah Bergson is the program's national director. She says it seems like the president doesn't understand the full scope of what the organization does for children because it
refers to Head Start as an education program. And I saw someone post that that's kind of like referring to the Marines as a fitness program.
There are 16 Head Start locations in the Houston area. I'm Colleen de Guzman, News 88.7.
A local economics professor is sounding the alarm on a possible recession for the country later this year. However, he says the Houston area may be spared from the worst of what comes. Diedrich Valrath is an economics professor at the University of Houston. He pointed to findings by the Greater Houston Partnership, which signaled strong consumer spending power along with population growth as reasons for optimism.
The Houston economy is going to step backwards. It may just not step backwards as much as everybody else. So I guess in that sense, it's a sunny outlook. But that assessment that the entire economy is looking at a distinct negative shock is very much true.
Valrath spoke to Houston Matters. And the Rockets can't lose another game in their series against Golden State. They lost 109-106 in Game 4 of the NBA playoffs yesterday. Golden State leads the first of 4 series, 3-1. I'm Gabrielle Dawkins, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Charles Schwab, offering investors choices like full-service wealth management, advice, investing, and trading on Thinkorswim. Learn more at schwab.com. And from the Doris Duke Foundation.
From Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome to the noon hour of Hello Houston. Frank's singing for us today. That's a new one.
We don't call it singing.
Well, you're making noise in a rhythmic manner. How about that? You know, if you want to watch Frank make noise in a rhythmic manner, you can go to YouTube and check out the Houston Public Media channel, where our show streams live every single day. We also archive the show and individual segments. You know, we are available as a podcast for people who don't realize that. And not only can you get the full 2-hour show podcast, we also have a commuter cut. It's usually available by about 3 o'clock day of show. Mm-hmm. So on your commute home, you can basically, if it's about 40 minutes long, which is the average commute in our area, you can hear a whole show on your way home. Get more of us. It's the show you're just hearing now, though. But so for other people. Anyway, when you do visit us on YouTube, you can hit that like, subscribe, and ring that bell, and you'll get notifications whenever we add. We also take your calls, 713-440-8870, or you can email us, talk@hellohouston.org.
Wow.
Got it all out there.
Got it all out there. But
and in beautiful weather.
And beautiful weather. Tomorrow might rain, but it looks like it's going to be more severe up to the north of Houston, but wherever you are, watch out.
Yeah, and coming up this hour, don't forget, Meg Booth is going to be here. Society for the Performing Arts. Now, Performing Arts Houston has announced their all-new season, and we're going to have a preview of it coming up in just a moment. But the first hour had a lot of conversation going, Celeste.
We sure did. So we were talking about the 12 cadets that were dismissed right before graduation because of their racist memes and comments in this group chat. And we did get quite a few off-air comments about this story. Amir from Atascocita says, I do believe the firefighters should be terminated for what they did. Sharing racist memes in today's age should not be tolerated.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas from Conroe said, I would like to know if the city could get their money back from the firefighters because of the cost.
Interesting.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I know it's an interesting. It's like the penalty for the behavior would be, I guess, for something like that, you would have to have that published, have that acknowledged beforehand, and people have to sign on to an agreement. And people aren't going to have that money.
No. Well, we also talked about the Wisconsin Judge Dugan being arrested for interfering with a federal investigation. Someone was illegal, and she allowed them, although they were in her court for an entirely different reason, she allowed them to go through the back door and get away from federal agents, and then told the federal agents what she'd done, and they arrested her for doing it.
Yep.
So Steve from Cyprus says, I think the judge being arrested given her criminal behavior made perfect sense. Here's something. Mary from Memorial, she refers to me, Frank said something about, quote, illegal people. People are not illegal. Their status may not be up to snuff, but they are not illegal. That's an interesting semantic. We hear illegal aliens, and I don't like the word alien. So that's why I said illegal people, because alien sounds so foreign, like they're not a real person.
But I also think illegal alien isn't a term. You know, I think that we are saying undocumented and trying to...
Correct. And we have been getting a lot of comments on our YouTube chat. It's blowing up. Candy Torres also said, please say undocumented rather than illegal. So we appreciate your comments, and we are conscious in making those tweaks.
Mary from Pasadena says the judge wasn't wrong for doing what they did. This person being deported is a person. The executive branch is disappearing people as a fear tactic to take away everyone's due process.
I think Mary's hitting back on some of the notes that I brought up during that conversation. We also, though, had a lighter moment on the show today.
Yes, we did. We got a beer comment.
We had some folks on from the World Beer Cup.
That's right. And Jeff made a comment from South Conroe. There are only two kinds of beer in the world, cold and other people's.
I was trying to think back on the beer of my youth. Not that I drank, but I remember as a kid. We had Utica Club. Do you people remember Utica Club?
I have no idea what that is.
No.
Sorry.
Schultz and Dooley? They were the little beer steins that
but
talked
you know
to
what
each
we
other?
do have?
Okay. What do we have?
Today's topics and headlines.
We do. Let's get into some serious stuff again. Celeste, lead us off.
That's right. Coming out of Austin, Senate Bill 17 is moving through the Texas legislature, and this would ban some people from certain foreign countries like China and Russia from owning land in the state. On Thursday, the Texas House Committee of Homeland Security passed SB 17 to HB 17, and it is now headed to the House floor for a vote. Critics are calling this bill racist and discriminatory. Last night at a press conference, local leaders like Commissioner Leslie Briones joined Fort Bend County Commissioner Dexter McCoy, Asians Texans for Justice, civil rights leaders, and community advocates to speak out against Senate Bill 17.
This law, SB 17, undermines the American dream. It undermines the very moral fabric of what we should stand for as Americans. Harris County is one of the largest economic hubs, not only in Texas, but in the United States. So to have a law that would take our neighbors' rights away, that would have a law where the Attorney General could essentially unilaterally take the property is unconstitutional because it undermines due process.
In a statement on X, State Representative Cole Hefner from District 5, who introduced the bill, shared excitement for the bill moving forward to the House. He wrote, "Today, the House Homeland Security Committee advanced SB 17, the Senate companion, to my HB 17. This legislation is about standing up to hostile foreign actors and keeping Texas secure. It strengthens our ability to protect critical infrastructure, private property, and our communities from foreign threats that have no place here." What are your thoughts on SB 17? Is this bill racist, or is it right for the security of the state? Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
I guess I would start with this on, is there are there laws that say you must be a citizen of the country in which you own the property in?
No.
So without that, then this becomes all the concerns people are expressing.
Apparently, Texas and Maine are the only two states where foreign people can own property without going through some kind of process.
Right. See, I think that there's something in that part of it that is concerning to me. If you don't live here, if this isn't your country, should you own property here? Outside of the idea of isolating and not allowing some people, either it's an all or nothing. Either anyone can buy property here or only people who are residents can buy.
You know what country owns most, percentage-wise, of American soil? What foreign country?
Isn't it China?
No, it's Canada.
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 Yeah.
Well, then maybe we should be Canada's, what, 6th province?
I mean, like 31%. They own a lot of Maine, a lot of Vermont.
Yeah.
China, from what I've read, owns really very little, less than 1%. And Russia doesn't own any that I could find. I mean, I researched it, but Iran owns some, Saudi Arabia owns some. There are 100 countries that own some.
But do we feel that should be the bigger issue? If you own part of the country, shouldn't it be your country? Shouldn't you be a resident?
I don't know where this started, to be honest.
We invite you to join the conversation at 713-440-8870. Anne from Huntsville is on the line regarding SB 17. Hello, Anne.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for joining us.
I would like to say I love the diversity that we have in Texas of all kinds of people. I love people from all different countries, and I want them to be citizens. My fear is that somebody will come over here who is not looking to our interests and purchase land, and then we've got enemies right here in our backyard.
That's a fair concern. I think most of the land being purchased in Texas by other people, if you will, is for agricultural purposes and timber.
And would you support what I was talking about? Is the only people that can own property in our country are people who are citizens of our country?
That's what I would prefer. I think other countries are doing the same thing. It's just safer. You know that people who are citizens have gone through a lot to come from other countries to be citizens, and they're going to stand up for us.
I'm going to speak from a point of not fully clear on what I'm saying, which is one of my favorite places to speak from. But I do believe many European countries, you have to bring so much into the economy to be able to purchase property or to get residence in that country so you can purchase property. And I don't know that we do that here.
I can tell you from experience, when you purchase in Mexico, you don't really purchase. You have a trust that a Mexican bank owns what you purchase.
Right.
And then the trust is in your name. But the bank does the purchase. The bank has the holding power.
And thanks for the call. We're going to head to Colby from Katy. Also has a comment about SB 17. Hi, Colby.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for joining the conversation. What's your question or comment?
Well, I want to agree with the former statement about it being all or none. I think the selective enforcement of particular countries is confusing and not very helpful. But really, I think a bigger factor is, from a residential perspective, commercial businesses owning large amounts of residential properties. I heard that a couple of years ago, about a third of new homes were purchased by commercial developers.
Is that for like high rises and condominiums and apartments, or is that like single family homes? Or do you know?
I believe this is just all residential construction combined.
Because it's going to take a commercial business to build a really expensive $20 million high rise, for instance.
Right. But somebody could buy up a good chunk of a neighborhood and then choose to rent those homes out.
Right. And we thank you, Colby, for giving us your thoughts on SB 17. We're going to head to Raymond now from the north side, who also has a comment about SB 17. Raymond, what's your comment?
Yeah, my comment is I just feel like potentially this is a very good thing if done right. That Texans should be protected. You see other places in the country that these big corporations from other countries, they come up, they buy a lot of the farmland, and they use up a lot of the water resources, and then there's nothing left for the people that actually live there. And if that protects us from stuff like that, I think it could be a good thing.
Ramon, let me quickly just ask for a point of clarification. You said you think it's a good thing when done right. Help me understand what you mean by doing it right.
Like, if it doesn't exclude people that live here or citizens, like people that just want to own a home and, you know, they're not some part of some big plan to, like, buy up land and hoard it for companies or other countries just to do that kind of thing. But as long as it doesn't exclude people that just want to own a home, you know?
Yeah. Ramon, thank you very much for your comments, and thank you for listening. Remember, we're interested in everyone's calls. Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
Fritz Goldman also had a comment on YouTube. He says, wow, SB 17 would really crash the Florida economy because of the number of homes owned by Canadians and other winter homes.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then think about vacation homes, getaway homes.
How that works.
Yes.
And then Alex Williams says, my dad is from England and was a green card holder. Limiting non-citizens is a wrong move. I wouldn't have had a house to grow up in and would lack generational wealth.
Mm-hmm. Good points.
So there are a lot of different variables and perspectives, and we appreciate you. Keep those comments and calls coming.
Yes.
713-440-8870.
You know, speaking of our phone calls, Arvin from Montrose is back on the judge topic.
Oh, yeah.
So let's circle back there very quickly. Arvin, what do you have to say about that?
Yesterday, I listened to Amy Goodman on your companion station, Pacifica. She had a 20-minute interview by a lawyer that operated in front of that judge, and the judge didn't sneak anybody out. There were 6 law enforcement officers, 2 DEA, 2 ICE, and 2 FBI. She said there's a procedure. 4 of you go across the hall to the chief judge or the chief administrative officer and get permission. And then she supposedly escorted this guy out the side door into a public hallway. He met the DEA guys. They got in the elevator, and they arrested him on the street. So if I believe this woman that had the interview yesterday was a lawyer that lives and works in Milwaukee and knows the judge.
Do you think she should have been arrested, the judge?
Of course not.
Yeah.
No.
Arvin, thank you for your comments. I think the interesting point there is what we were saying earlier, is that there's a lot of little nuance to this case and what actually happened in there. And from what you're saying, it widens this to more interpretations of what happened in that court. So I thank you for calling, and I thank you for staying well informed about the topics that matter to all of us. Thank you for calling, Arvin.
All right. Did you hear that there's a real possibility the Texas lottery could go away in the wake of 2 major payout scandals?
The scandals themselves are fascinating.
I know. Well, yes. The Texas Lottery Commission is up for its every 12-year review, known as the Sunset Commission. And last week, Texas Lottery Commission Executive Director Ryan Mendel was the latest to resign. This came after a public grilling earlier this spring in a Texas Senate committee hearing. So the Texas Rangers, the Texas Attorney General, select lawmakers continue to investigate 2 large electronic lottery courier companies over 2 payouts, one for $95 million, another for $83 million. They're also investigating whether state regulators look the other way. It is fascinating. They basically allowed millions of tickets to be sold to out-of-state companies.
The trick is there's only so many combinations of numbers.
Right.
And when that combination of numbers is less than the payout, wow. And if you bought every ticket, you would win.
And there's only so many ways to buy tickets.
The problem was you couldn't figure out how to buy all the tickets up. But some people figured out how to get the vast majority, and that became the problem.
Which makes me really mad, because I like to buy one little ticket.
Right.
Me too.
I do.
But that's the idea, that you do have a fair chance for every ticket you buy to buy. But if somebody bought all of the combinations, they're guaranteed the win, and you're still buying tickets, so that pot keeps growing. So there's, what did they say, 23 million combinations or something, but the lottery was up to 95 million, the jackpot. So it was a good investment if you could figure out how in a short amount of time to print every combination ticket. And that's where the problem came in. Who could get the machines and where they could print them.
And is a computer buying all of these combinations? Because a human can't do it.
No.
No,
So
but
it
you
must
had
be
an
a
account that was
computer.
pulling and the money.
Already, it's the odds are stacked against you. And then you hear that the odds are stacked even more against you.
Not even odds. You can't win
You
when
can't
somebody
win.
has all the combinations.
That is not fair. I want a refund for my $5 whenever I buy it. You know, I have this thing. Dan is always like, don't buy it, Celeste. You're never going to win. And I'm like, one day when I win.
Yep.
But you know what
This
you
is
buy?
mine.
You know what you
Mine.
buy with that dollar? You buy the dream.
Well, in April, the Texas House zeroed out the budget for the Lottery Commission, Ernie.
Uh-oh.
That kills the program if they don't make a different decision while negotiating with the Texas Senate. So according to state
But that's
data,
for Texas State Lottery. Would you still be able to get into like Powerball and all those?
still go to Lake Charles all you want.
Yeah.
But listen to this.
Okay.
More than $34 billion of lottery money has been directed toward public education.
Right.
I know. Annually, nearly 68% of Texas lottery dollars were used for prizes paid, 24% directed toward the state's school fund. So despite the kind of sketchy way of lotterizing, we're getting some good money out of it.
Okay, so then keep my $5 because it's going to the public education system.
But keep the bad actors out of the game.
Keep the bad actors out of the lottery. Now, question: does that money will any of that money go towards vouchers now?
Oh, I have no
Doesn't
idea.
it all go toward vouchers now?
I don't know where any of it's earmarked, but I do think when you buy a lottery ticket, as we mentioned a minute ago, I think you buy a dream, at least until the drawing. And I don't, but we buy a lottery ticket every so often, and for the next 20 or 30 minutes, we're talking about what we're going to do. We've had a big argument about, do we get a private jet or do we just fly first class? I'm all for just fly first class. It's so much upkeep on the jet. And then by 10 o'clock, the drawing happens, and I'm back to looking at my GeoPrism or whatever.
And I'm always rationing off, like I'm going to give a little bit of here, I'm going to give a little bit of there, and yes. Well,
the day I'm no longer here, it's because somebody won the lottery and said, I'll take care of you. So I'm all for it.
If I ever win the lottery, there will be signs.
Yeah.
There will be an empty chair right there.
That'll be the biggest sign. What would you do if you won the lottery? Give us a call. Do you believe in that moment? Do you get all excited when you have that ticket and the pot is $1 billion? And do you have all those dreams? Let us know. 713-440-8870.
One can only dream. Coming up on Hello Houston, we'll talk to Performing Arts Houston President and CEO Meg Booth about their upcoming season. And we're also taking your calls on any of today's topics at 713-440-8870. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7.
Hi, this is Matt Harrop. There's been a lot of news to cover in Houston over the last few months. Keep listening to Houston Public Media for the latest, and if you've got a car, truck, boat, or RV you don't need anymore, donate it to the station. It could be worth hundreds of dollars in support. The donation process is easy for you, and we'll pick up your vehicle in any condition. Here's how to get started. Go to houstonpublicmedia.org/cars to learn more. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Craig Cohen, the host of Houston Matters. Join me weekday mornings at 9 or at your leisure on your podcast feed for your daily guide to the people, places, issues, and ideas that define Greater Houston. From politics to the economy, energy to the environment, healthcare to education to transportation and beyond. If it matters to Houston, it matters to us. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts or live on the air weekdays at 9 a.m. right here on News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from attorney mediator Ron Bankston, providing in-person, video conferencing, and hybrid mediation and arbitration services. More information is available at ronbankston.com. Support comes from Miller Outdoor Theater, celebrating Cinco de Mayo for Houstonians with ska band Inspector from Mexico. Saturday, May 3rd, open to the public. More info and reserved covered seating at milleroutdoortheater.com. Support comes from the Houston Zoo, presenting its annual Feast with the Beasts. Cuisine from a number of Houston's diverse eateries, animal experiences, live music, and more. May 2nd. More at houstonzoo.org. Support comes from electricityplans.com, helping Houstonians find electricity plans based on home energy usage, with tools to compare rates. Enrollment details and more at electricityplans.com. Support comes from John Moore, helping with plumbing, electrical, and air conditioning repairs, including out-of-warranty units since 1965. Details at 730-2525 or at johnmooreservices.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
We really do have a lot of fun.
We do have a lot of fun.
We talk about some very serious and heavy things, and we appreciate all of our callers and comments.
We do.
So fun.
And so keep doing it. Keep commenting, keep calling. You do it on the YouTube channel as you watch the show live. You can add comments there. You can email us, talk@hellohouston.org. You can call us, 713-440-8870. Or you can just continue to listen right now as I tell you Performing Arts Houston, formerly Society for the Performing Arts, has shaped Houston's cultural landscape since its founding in 1966, presenting global voices across music, dance, theater, and spoken word discipline. Today, I got that word wrong. Today, Performing Arts Houston announced its 2025 season. Here with their announcement to walk us through the upcoming schedule, President and CEO Meg Booth. Hello, Meg. Always a joy to see you.
Hello. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you very much.
Before we get into all of this, what are you going to do if you win the lotto?
If I win the lottery, of course, I'd like to spend a little time looking at salt water, but probably come back and just dive into the arts, maybe as a patron rather than as an arts worker.
Well, you have a lot to dive into right now because today you have announced Performing Arts Houston's 2025-26 season. I can't believe the years to start with.
It is so exciting.
Before we get into the whole thing and tear the thing apart, what's your favorite thing in the season?
Oh my gosh, the entire season. To be honest, it's a program that we call Every 10th Seat. We are giving 1 in every 10 seats away to groups that otherwise probably would not come to the theater. And so we are exercising our education and community engagement department and all of the networks and community groups that we work with across Houston. And we are making 1/10 of all of our seat capacity available to these groups because, if we aren't using everything we have to share the joy of the arts with all Houstonians, then we're not using our platform as well as we can.
That's like over 10,000 tickets, right?
It's a lot of tickets.
That's lovely.
Yeah,
Why
it is.
Why did y'all feel the need to do that? I mean, I understand you want to share, but also what gap are you bridging?
Well, first, I feel so lucky to be an arts worker because every week I get to see the impact that participating in live arts has on people. And this year we did a student matinee, and we literally had a teacher call us and say, I would love to bring my kids, and I know the tickets are only $10 a person, but my students can't afford that. Like, I can't ask my parents to give us $10 to bring those kids to the arts. And our development director, the amazing Jordan Drum, was talking to one of our donors literally that morning, and he said, how much would it be to let those kids go to that performance? And he literally wrote a check on the spot, and those kids came to that student matinee performance. Wow. And as a team, we were so inspired by that we said, we sell 75% of our tickets every year. That means 25% of our tickets over the course of the year go unsold. I mean, we have plenty of sold out performances, but we all know there are those, really specific mission-driven shows that have relatively small audiences. And so we said, you know what, let's put all of this together and make the arts more accessible to more people.
And how many times have we heard from famous actors and actresses, that first show that I saw in my life, and I was hooked.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes. I was in kindergarten and went and saw Romper Room and Bozo. And I was like, I was watching. Follow that up. I was watching, and I was like, I want to be on TV, not watching people on TV. It really was. Yeah, it matters.
The arts can really be the spark that inspires something in your life. So it's very exciting.
I've got to get into this season.
Let's do it.
First of all, you folks are not like a lot of the arts organization that they're going to put out We have 6 shows this year. Come and see them, and sometimes you probably wish you worked at an organization that did.
I know. We're a little more complicated.
Oh, my Lord. So much is going on. How would you like us to tackle this? I mean, I can say 3 names off the top that have me the most excited.
Do it.
Jeff Goldblum, Jane Fonda, and Blue Man Group.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, wow.
And I might counter with Alvin Ailey and their Amazing Revelations. That's like going to church. I could see it 5 times a year. Rhiannon Giddens, who will be a Houston debut for us. And then Hung Dance, which is a company that has never been to Houston before, from Taiwan, our friends in Taiwan, doing an extraordinary piece about resilience and strength of spirit. And it just goes on and on and on.
So how do you look at your season in a digestible way so we can go through it? We could go calendar date, but you kind of lump things together, and that helps.
We do. And there is no easy way to look at our season because we build from scratch every year. And our commitment is to bringing the best of the arts from across the world. And so if that means bringing Solange Knowles back to Houston with her El Dorado project, we're going to do that. If it's a classical musician like Alexander Malafiev, who is making his Houston debut, we'll bring a piano recital in. If it's contemporary dance or a family show, we have serious fun and serious art, if you want to boil it down. And so it's everything from family entertainment like Blue Man Group and Riverdance to the serious art like the Van Cliburn Gold Medal Award winner.
Okay, I'm going to remind everyone to find the full list of all of this and see everything the Performing Arts Houston is currently doing and what they're going to be doing in the future. Go to performingartshouston.org. You'll find the full schedule there. But let's jump into a couple things. First of all, Jeff Goldblum. I have seen him with you folks before. I have met him when he does his meet and greet. What a joy to be around this man, and you're bringing him back.
He is absolutely one of the easiest to talk to, most fun people in the world. Literally, the last time he was here, he had one of our board members singing Christmas carols on stage in front of a full audience. And he is so much fun. He really does audience participation.
So what is his performance?
He has chops as a jazz musician. He's an extraordinary, I mean, if you've ever been to a piano bar, he will sit in a concert hall and you feel like you're in a piano bar with him. And he is telling stories and playing jazz standards on that piano. And he has a full orchestra, the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra, named after his grandmother, and who lived in Pittsburgh. And so that's a fun night.
So is he funny, charming?
All of the above.
Yeah.
He's got a velvety, fun voice, so he's fun to listen to. He really is a good piano player, but he's Jeff Goldblum, so he's telling stories all night. He's finding quips. Last time we talked about what were we talking about? Stan Lee. My maiden name is Kowalski, and he was making fun
Streetcar
of
Named
Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah. Well, you can slide 2 hours just on celebrity. You don't have to be even talented.
Oh,
Trust me.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, he's just finishing up his world tour for Wicked, where he is.
Is he a one night only, or?
He is.
Yes,
Yep.
September 14th. He will be with you folks Sunday night.
Yeah.
Also, I made reference to Jane Fonda.
Yes.
Tell me a little about what people can
excited.
expect from Jane Fonda.
What does she do?
Talk about an icon.
Yeah.
And so, I just listened to her do a podcast that she recorded a little while ago with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and I encourage anybody to find that. But she is such a powerhouse and just continues to kick. And so she's an actress. She is an activist. She is a very engaged humanitarian and individual. And so her evening both is an opportunity to hear about the things that she's passionate about right now, but then opens it up at the end for a Q&A with the audience.
So she sort of just talks about her life and her passions.
Yes.
And she's so beautiful and
she's
looks
gorgeous.
amazing.
Yes,
That's
she
an
does.
evening with Jane Fonda on October 20th. Now, I'm just jumping around the schedule.
I like
here.
it.
I do want to go back a little bit. You mentioned the El Dorado Ballroom Houston project.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a lot about it. I don't know that I understand exactly what's going on with Solange
Great.
Knowles. So take me into this.
So Solange Knowles grew up in the third ward.
Right.
She grew up in the shadow of the El Dorado Ballroom. The Eldorado Ballroom was an absolute community center for the Third Ward. It was an epicenter of Black creativity and Black community. So not only could you get your suits tailored there, but you could buy insurance and you could listen to Ella Fitzgerald, Miles Davis. I mean, all the greats have been through the Eldorado Ballroom. And that's right here in Houston. That is a national treasure. And so Solange, about a year and a half ago, actually the day that the Eldorado Ballroom reopened after a major renovation, Solange opened a program up in Brooklyn, New York, because she was given the opportunity to curate something at Brooklyn Academy of Music. And she said, I want to highlight the Eldorado Ballroom, which is a national treasure in my hometown of Houston. And she then took it to LA in October. And she waited a little while, but in June, we get to bring it home to Houston. It is a series of at least 5 performances and 2 film screenings. One night focuses on classical music by Black female composers. One night is soul and gospel music, music of the soul and heart. We've got 2 performances at the Eldorado Ballroom, and the Eldorado Ballroom, it has a tiny little capacity. I mean, it's a small room, so unfortunately, those are pretty much sold out already.
Oh, man.
But 2 of the performances in Jones Hall, tickets are still on sale at performingartshouston.org, and we really look forward to shining a national spotlight on a Houston treasure, but it's also a national treasure. The Eldorado Ballroom was able to generate such creativity within the Black community.
We're speaking with Meg Booth, the president and CEO at Performing Arts Houston. You can join the conversation at 713-440-8870.
So you mentioned Jones Hall. Are almost all the performances at Jones Hall, other than the one where we can't go?
For the Eldorado Ballroom, we have 2 performances at Jones Hall, 2 performances at the Eldorado Ballroom, and then we are working on the last event, which we haven't quite identified yet. The name of the evening is Go Slow. It's an evening with DJs and sculpture that you interact with, and details soon on our website.
So what I mean is, like Jane Fonda and Jeff Goldblum, they're at Jones Hall?
Oh, thank you. Performing Arts Houston is a little bit nomadic. So while we have been residents of Jones Hall since 1966, we actually use all of the theaters that are available downtown. And Jones Hall and the Wortham are both owned by the city of Houston. And we have extraordinary resident companies that are residents in each one of them. But we're fortunate to have all of the theaters, because different art needs different frames. So sometimes we're in Jones Hall for larger works like Blue Man Group and River Dance. Sometimes we're in the Cullen Theater for contemporary dance, which is a little more intimate. Sometimes we hop over to the Brown, but we're a little bit nomadic. So you have to go to our website and find out where the performance is.
Another thing that is a hallmark of your time with the organization is the New Now series, and that's continuing on. Talk a little about that.
This is such a fun project. So where it really started is that Houston is a creative powerhouse. I think it's kind of a best-kept secret of this city. We have so many creators that are doing extraordinary things throughout Houston. And the theater district has these fabulous theaters, but there's not an easy path for a Houston creative to get onto that stage, because we have so many great big producing organizations. So New Now was our commitment to Houston artists to say, we're going to create the opportunity for you to create something totally brand new. It's probably a project that you've been sleeping on for the last 5 or 10 years. We're going to give you these historic stages downtown. We're going to support you technically. We're going to support you with finances, with our entire team, and we're going to bring something to life. And we do it somewhat as a mixed tape, where we put 3 different artists from 3 different genres and backgrounds on the same program. So Houstonians can go as an audience member and be exposed to 3 totally new pieces through New Now. And at this point, we've commissioned 21 live works by Houston artists.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Also, Celeste, family woman over there with her children, there's programs for the kids.
There is.
Oh, that's
Beautiful,
fabulous.
wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
Really fun. This year we bring Gazillion Bubble Show back, which brings literally hundreds of thousands of bubbles and a laser show into Jones Hall.
I want to say him new now. My friend Ben Chavez was on that.
Oh my gosh, I love him.
He was fabulous. I love him
Yes.
too.
And talk about piano bars. He is a fabulous pianist.
I've seen many performances by Ben. But
Yeah.
that New Now program really is sensational. And it does give artists such an opportunity. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And also you've got Cirque Dreams.
Cirque Dreams, a holiday tradition. Spend time in the theater with your family. You get to dress up, come downtown, and watch some really terrific acrobatics and performance and music right there in Jones Hall.
And an amazing dance series.
It is incredible, and I'm so thrilled. We work with Lee Strickland. He is our director of artistic programs, and he was just reminding me this morning, he is so proud of our contemporary dance audience. We're bringing in 5 companies this upcoming year. Every single one of them will perform more than one night, so we are truly expanding our dance audience. Ballet Hispanico, Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, Hung Dance from Taiwan. We bring Step Africa back, and I'm missing one, but really extraordinary dance series this year.
My problem with this, I feel like we haven't even done justice to your full series. There's so much in it. Everyone can see it. Where can they find out more?
PerformingArtsHouston.org.
And just for a shameless plug, I'm going to be on the stage with you guys in a couple of weeks.
Wait.
What
It
am I
is
coming up
always
for?
Fun.
What am I doing?
You are coming to interview Amor Tolls.
Live on stage at Jones Hall?
Live on stage.
That is so cool, Ernie.
So we'll have more of that as
You're
we get
so
closer.
talented.
You're so talented, Ernie.
We hadn't even noticed that.
Meg, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you all. A joy to be with you.
Meg Booth is the president and CEO at Performing Arts Houston. Coming up, the Houston Saengerbund is the oldest musical organization operating right here in our city. They'll join us live in studio next on Hello Houston. Stay with us.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, meet the quiet revolutionaries and pioneering women behind the free library movement. Independent Lens presents Free for All, the public library, tonight at 9 on TV8. Support comes from the Houston Symphony, performing Beethoven's 7th Symphony with conductor Matthias Pincher. Plus, Cedric Tabergian performs Mozart's Piano Concerto No. 20, May 1st, 3rd, and 4th. Tickets at houstonsymphony.org.
I'm Jeremy Hobson. Next time on The Middle, it's no secret that the United States has an abundance of wealth and resources compared to other countries. But in his new book with Ezra Klein, journalist Derek Thompson explores why such a rich nation is so far behind on things like affordable housing, infrastructure, and climate action, and what both parties need to do to change course. Derek Thompson, next time on The Middle.
You can hear that Thursday night at 8 p.m.
Support comes from LaPorte CPAs and Business Advisors, an independent accounting and business advisory firm serving clients for more than 75 years. With 190 employees across offices in Houston, New Orleans, and other locations. More information at laporte.com.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from the Holdsworth Center's Champions of Hope series, featuring 6 Texas education leaders who are uplifting their communities and leading with heart. More about their stories at holdsworthcenter.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
And we are back again, continuing in the realm of the arts today. A lot going on here. You might not know it, but the Houston Saengerbund is the oldest musical organization continuously operating in the city of Houston. Kind of fascinating. They were founded in 1883 when Frank was just a young man.
I remember it.
As a men's choir and social club. To this day, the organization brings German music, language, and culture, both to Houston and Texas. Their next concert, Chorale Landscape, German and American Sounds, will take place tonight April 29th at the Houston Saengerbund Sanger Hall in the Heights. Now to tell us more are Rodney Thorin, who is the president of Houston Saengerbund, and Elmy Biermanns, who is a Houston Saengerbund board member. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you so much.
Am I getting Saengerbund pronounced correctly?
Bund, actually.
Saengerbund.
Yes, there you go.
Okay, well, I'm not going to say it again so I don't say it wrong. Rodney, we'll start with you. Explain to the audience who you are and what you do that makes you stand out and are so different, besides the fact that it's German-based and it's been here for so long.
Well, we had a former president of ours who's since passed during COVID, Burl Holloway. He said to me one time, he goes, Saengerbund is the best kept secret in the city of Houston. I lived here for 16 years before I even knew it existed. And then when I found it, I was just amazed at the camaraderie and the Gemütlichkeit, the coziness, the sense of belonging that I felt when I got there. And so over the past, I've been a member, it'll be almost 10 years. And over the past 10 years, we've just been staying true to our mission, sharing our love of German music and language and culture, and it's drawing people in.
Yeah. Elmy, if we were to stumble upon you folks, what would we find performance-wise?
Oh, a variety of things. We do spring concerts, which, of course, they have the theme of spring. We have, on the other end of the spectrum, Christmas concerts, which are the most popular. We barely can fit everyone in who wants to hear us. We have an Oktoberfest in between. The whole year we have about 8 to 10 concerts for the public.
A lot of it seems to be a cappella.
No, we have accompaniment.
Now, did I see some of your work like at the Renaissance Festival or out at festivals? Well, then it must have been German festivals.
Yes,
okay.
Tomball, yes.
That must have been it.
Yes.
So
we have some a cappella, but most is accompanied.
Because the yodeling I heard was fabulous.
Well, that's all the Swiss.
Well, we can do that too.
We do actually have a yodeler. We did a couple years ago. We had a member who had a song that had yodeling. It was beautiful.
Well, we were talking about beer earlier, so to go to this subject seems just absolutely.
I heard that. You must have the German theme today.
We weren't planning it, but it's turning out that way.
I ran into Brock in the lobby, and he said, well, I don't know why I didn't wear my lederhosen. And I said, well, I actually could have worn my dirndl, but I think it's okay.
Rodney, talk a little bit about the enjoyment of keeping German culture alive in our region.
Well, for me, I'm not a native Houstonian, but it's the same joke. I got here as quick as I could. Yeah. I love it here. I don't want to live anywhere else. But what a lot of people don't know is that the German immigrants of the 1800s laid the foundation for what Houston is today. The history of German settlement here is just amazing. I mean, look at our street names. Go out to Klein, go to Spring. Mm-hmm. The street names, the road names. Westheimer is a German name. And at one time, there were almost as many German language newspapers in Houston as there were English. And then, of course, with everything that happened in the early 1900s, German fell out of favor. But there's so much culture there that we're remiss to not remember the good parts and the joy of language and the joy of music and the joy of getting together. And that's what German singing clubs were for, was to get together.
And I hate to go to this point in time, but you bring it up, and I'm kind of curious, what happened to the organization during war times here in our city and our community? Was it continued to be embraced? Did it lay low during those difficult? What happened? Do we know?
Kind of both. One of the worst things that happened to the Saengerbund was during Prohibition, because where are you going to get together if you're not drinking beer?
Well,
and so there was
go?
There was that problem, but. At one time, our archives and details show that at one time there were over 1,000 members in the club. And then we've got newspaper articles from World War I where Saengerbund actually put out articles talking about they were raising money for war bonds, that they were Americans, they were good Americans, but of course there's always the question. Mm-hmm. And then it really fell out of favor World War II, and right after the war, they actually changed the name to Houston Singing Society and stopped doing meetings in German. And then by the mid-50s, went back to the Houston Saengerbund, and started doing their meetings in German again.
Do you do your meetings in German now?
No.
We do not.
Okay.
I was going to say, you'll have multiple choirs, though, right? It's not
Yes.
just one choir.
Yeah, we have a mains choir, and that is actually how all the German choirs in the United States started out. In the 1800s, there was a huge influx of German immigrants to the United States, and to this day there are hundreds of German choirs, but they started out as mains choirs.
Mhm.
Women were not allowed at the time. So for the Saengerbund in 1938, the women finally forced forward and said, well, we should sing and be recognized as well. And so now we have a men's choir, a women's choir, and very recently, just two and a half years ago, we started a kinderchor, a children's choir. And we are excited to also have that for little children who like to sing, and they have performed with us on stage in some concerts, so this is wonderful.
What's in tonight's program?
Tonight's program, we are two choirs, the Houston Saengerbund mixed choir, and we collaborate with the Kingwood Chorale. So there will be some 80 singers on stage. It will be tight quarters up there. It's musical landscape. We sing in German, they sing in English, and it's a variety of music, some historic, some popular, a variety that you will enjoy to hear.
Rodney, if someone wants to get involved, if someone has a hankering to come and sing with you folks and to sing in German, what do they have to be able to do, and how do you become a member?
I would like to say that you need to be this great singer who is
Is there an audition process?
So we have an audition process for our section leaders.
Okay.
But there is not an audition process for singers. So if somebody has an interest in singing, even if they don't have an interest in singing, they want to hear it, we meet every Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock at our location in the Heights at 18th Street and Heights. And anybody can come by. They can check us out. If they want to sing, they can sing. If they don't want to sing, probably, about 2/3 of our total membership is not even in the choir. They just either have a German background or they're looking for a sense of community. And it's uniquely, it's just very uniquely Houston that we are so tied into Houston.
Yeah.
That there's a draw for it.
And they like beer.
And they like beer. And I think that's why we get so many singers, because we have a beer pause. We have 2 halves of rehearsals, and in between we drink beer. So that's our beer break. And
I'm worried now you're going to have way too many people applying to be part of this group.
And if they want to apply, please go to germansinging.org. And don't linger too long. We will have a nicer website. Right now it's not so nice, but click on the F for Facebook at the very top, and there you get to our Facebook page. You sign up, which is not signing up for Facebook, it's signing up for our newsletter.
Yeah.
And then you get twice a month our announcements, what we are
Is your schedule,
doing.
is your whole schedule for the rest of the year there?
Yes.
Well, our fall schedule's not out yet. We're just ending our season in May, so we will have our schedule out probably by the 1st of June for the entire next year through the following June.
Now, what kind of music? I mean, I know we're talking about German and culture, but is it like a polka? And what type of accompaniment is what type of instruments?
It's a wide range of music. Sometimes we take English popular music and sing it in German. Sometimes we take the German version of American music and sing it. Sometimes it is classical. We've done Brahms, we have done Beethoven, Mendelssohn, but we are always down for a good beer hall drinking song. And,
I'm noticing a theme we keep going back
and I'm saying
to.
polka.
Well, our joke, the joke is that we're a drinking club with a singing problem.
It doesn't sound like a problem at all to me.
It is not a problem for the people who come and enjoy the Tuesday night. We have a clubhouse in the lower level of Lambert Hall, and We have meals and we drink beer and we sit and visit. We got tables where people will practice their German, and then we go to rehearsal and sit outside. It's
no
great.
more yodeling? Yodeling's gone?
No, we haven't had yodeling lately.
Yeah, but probably with Oktoberfest.
We may have a yodeling contest. I can see what's having that.
That's like a national holiday for you guys, right? Oktoberfest?
Yes.
Yes, it is. And our Oktoberfest is the last Saturday of September. I'm a purist. I want Oktoberfest in September. So
there you go. Thank you both for coming in and joining us.
do.
And we'll let you rest your voices right now because you got a concert tonight.
Yes,
Indeed.
we do.
That's right.
Good
Rodney Thorin is the president of Houston Saengerbund, and Elmy Biermanns is a Houston Saengerbund board member. Well, that brings us to the end of today's Hello Houston. We want to thank you for listening, watching, calling, and commenting on today's show. We will be back tomorrow with more conversations. This is News 88.7.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altai, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Rice University's Master of Liberal Studies, combining an interdisciplinary Rice education with a flexible